AskReddit by Shira from Game. What is a scientifically proven fact you refuse to believe? The fact that our eyes see everything upside down and back into our brain, we have to flip the image, just crazy. This is the one that throws my brain for a loop every time. All the sensory processing stuff actually freaks me out. The reality is that what I see might not be what you see, and we may never have the means to communicate that clearly enough to confirm we all see the same things. Brains are fascinating. That baby's adult teeth are under their eyes. Skeletal. Holy Mother of God. At equals PNG and amp. Name equals 900x900. That a regulation basketball hoop is 18 inches in diameter and can, almost, fit 2 NBA basketballs at the same time. I swear the hoops I play at are way smaller, and it's not because I suck at basketball. I never looked into it, but I always felt that hoops in the NBA somehow made it easier for the ball to go in, at least compared to the hoops I play in LoL. That fruits and vegetables do not decay faster when I'm the one paying for them. Have you tried rinsing them in a vinegar and water bath? I do this with all of my quick rotting fruits and veg, and it seems to really work. I mix a bowl of water with some vinegar in it. About a quarter of the liquid should be vinegar. The 1.99 a bottle white vinegar is fine, and dunk berries and peppers and things in there for about a minute. I swear they last up to a week longer this way. Oh, and for lettuces, I wrap them in paper towels, or just tuck a paper towel in the box bag if that is how you buy them. If they are drenched from the grocery store sprinklers, I go ahead and dry them off before even putting them in the cart. That I'm not one living entity, billions of life forms all combined to make one of me. We are all a collection of cells in a trench coat. Q-tips do belong in my ears, and I refuse to believe any doctor saying otherwise. What else am I supposed to dry my overly waxy wet ears with after a shower? Sailboats can go faster than the wind blows 25 knot winds. The boat can go 30 plus knots with just the sail power alone. For me, it's not so surprising that sailboats can go faster than the wind at an angle to the wind. For example, if the wind is directly out of the south at 25 knots and the boat is going 30 plus knots in a, say, northwesterly direction, I can accept that. But what really blew me away when I learned it was that sometimes sailboats can go so fast at an angle to the wind that their direct downwind component of their velocity can be actually faster than the wind. In other words, it's possible to release a balloon and let it drift with the wind, and a sailboat can tack back and forth towards a point downwind and beat the balloon to that point. Granted, it's only the most advanced sailboats that can do this, and it's a relatively recent advancement for water sailing vessels due to the invention of hydrofoiling boats. But land yachts and ice sailing boats have been doing it for ages. I refuse to believe a leopard moose camel with a 40-foot neck is a real animal and a horse with a horn isn't. What's more believable, a horse with a horn, or a venomous egg-laying beaver duck? Pinhole cameras. Right? They're weird. Made one in high school with an oatmeal container. The fact that T-Rex and Stegosaurus were separated by millions of years and never existed together. I will always have Stegosaurus battle T-Rex when given dinosaurs to play with. What always gets me is that T-Rex is closer to us in time than it was to Stego. It really puts the history of the Earth into some perspective. Women are born with all the eggs already in them and don't produce those through the lifetime. It is so ridiculous that I still can't believe it, even though I tell it to the others. Hope for a paper suggesting an alternative to the egg from which you were born was actually created by your grandma. Ovulation is super interesting too. Your body actually takes turns on each ovary, cultivating about 20 follicles, and then chooses only 1 or 2 eggs that develop the best out of the 20 to release into your fallopian tubes. Then you only have a 12-24 hour window to fertilize the eggs, which is why men's sperm can last up to 5 days inside you and why men ejaculate millions of sperm at one time. to try and increase the chances of any of those millions of sperm actually making it far enough inside you to fertilize the egg. That jet planes can fly. Come on. I've flown on them many times before. But come on. Last trip I was on with the fam, we were placed in the back of the plane with me being in the aisle seat. We had some turbulence and I swear I was not hallucinating the amount of flex I saw between the front of the plane and back when looking up the aisle. Scared me quite a bit, and I have flown more times than I can count without that experience. That many living people have Neanderthal DNA. Mostly in non-African ethnicities. My DNA is apparently more Neanderthal than 93% of the population tested to date by 23andMe. WTF? T-hat many living people have the DNA of another non-modern species. Is that the right word? The Denisovans. Mostly certain nation ethnicities. How many more non-modern species of DNA do humans carry that we just have not identified? How many others did we interbreed with? What are we? See this link. As it turns out, Neanderthal DNA is more widespread than first calculated. THXUVincis https://www.science.org/articles/carry-surprising-amount-neanderthal-DNA. Ape strong together. I know it's true, but I still find it hard to believe that viruses are not considered living organisms. There are a lot of factors, but the two biggest ones I think are the fact that they are inert and do not use energy when not in a host, and that they cannot self-replicate without said host. Hard to believe something capable of so much death and destruction is probably not even conscious. I find this one hard to believe as well. Mostly because being alive implies not being dead and being dead implies not being alive. It's a black and white concept. Then viruses come along, fitting in the gray area on that scale. Basically dead without a host, but very much alive within a host. Switching doors gives me a higher chance of winning. It's not about the puzzle. They just need to bone. Narwhals. Ain't no way. I'm amazed at the number of people who say they didn't used to believe narwhals were real. That my clothes aren't shrinking in the dryer, I'm just getting fat. Worse. They shrink in the drawer if I haven't worn them in a few months. Our stomach acid is strong enough to even dissolve metals over time. No, this is true. I eat my boyfriend's sunglasses whenever he gets a new pair and I always digest them within 48 hours. Tomato is a berry. So are cucumbers, pumpkins and friggin' watermelons. Meanwhile cherries, raspberries, blackberries, and strawberries are not berries. WTF? Black is absolutely a color. How else would there be a crayon for it? Black is a color of objects, but isn't a color of light. Same with gray and brown. That eating raw cookie dough is dangerous. I won't accept it. I accept it, it's just a risk I'm willing to take. That computers work by using combinations of 0 and 1. I have a computer science degree, and I understand this much better than most. It still feels a lot like magic, but it's at least explainable. Would you like to borrow some of the overpriced textbooks that I still have? The double slit experiments and all their variations still weird me out. As someone who hasn't studied the necessary fundamentals, it just seems like the light particles know whether or not you're watching and will change their behavior depending on what you're expecting them to do. They don't know they are being watched in the sense of being sentient and understanding this. The experiment just reveals that the different mechanical methods that humans employ to observe and examine the subatomic world yield different results. It's a reaction to particular mechanical environments, not a perception or comprehension on the part of the particles. As a child I could not grasp that groves in a record could make complicated music when a needle ran over them. Now that I'm older and it's all light on metal discs or just math, somehow, I have given up even pretending I believe. It's magic, pure and simple. Cold water is just as effective as warm water for washing hands. Joke's on you. If you live in the southern US, the water is never really cold.